30 feet high in the trees. But we have never met in person. Well, hello, and welcome back to Happy Stuff and Fluff. My name's Christine L. Conroy. Today's video was really meant to just be a kind of chit-chat catch-up because I know I haven't done one of those in a while. The channel's called Happy Stuff and Fluff, and the fluff part tends to be things like things that are not psychologically backed or science-backed. Anything I might want to talk about that makes me happy. It could be anything from buying something new to, my happy place in my home, those kind of things that are not necessarily scientifically based, but that make me happy. And I haven't done a fluff conversation for a while. However, when I started to think about this, because what I wanted to tell you about was my summer, really, things that have happened over the summer, I started to realise that the conversation I was about to have you fit in very nicely to a psychological rule. And I thought, I need to bring that to your attention because it could help you. So, it's kind of part fluff, part scientifically based. And it's all about, this video then has become about the peak-end rule or peak-end theory. Now, I've mentioned it before, but as I say, I wanted to mention it to you again because I know if you give it some thought, it's going to help you in a very positive way. So, I'm going to tell you about my summer and what the peak-end rule, how the peak-end rule fits into my summer, because all it is that it's talking about our memories. Now, human beings, when they remember events, or when we remember events, we tend to think of our memories in snapshots. We don't think about the whole thing. We have little snapshots of things that happened as part of the experience that we're remembering. And those tend to be two things. The peak of the experience, which is the part of the experience that created the most intense emotions, and then the end of the experience, whatever that was. So those are the two things that we remember. The part of the experience that created the most emotion, and then the end of the experience. Now, when I say that created the most intense emotion, that can be positive or negative. But today I'm talking about positive. So, as I say, when I was thinking about the things I was going to tell you, they fit quite nicely into the peak-end theory. So let me get on with the video. I want to tell you about my summer. First of all, which turns out to fall into the peak part of the whole summer experience for me, was a week over the summer when our grandchildren came to stay with us without their parents. Oh dear. Yes, their parents went off for a well-earned rest on their own, and we had the boys all to ourselves. So I have two grandchildren, almost 6, I do believe, and 9. And they stayed with us, and they were such fun, and I had the time of my life, as did Mr. Kitchen. Now, what I want to talk to you about is one of the adventures we went on with them was something called Go Ape. Now, if you're in the UK, you probably know what that is, especially if you've got children or grandchildren, you will. In America, they will no doubt have something similar called a different name. I'm going to leave a link down to it below, and I want you to just have a quick look on their website, which will explain clearly what Go Ape actually is. But basically, it's about playing around in the trees 30 feet high. I was 30 feet high in the trees. I mean, oh my goodness. Well, I agreed to do it because I'd done it with my own boys. But when I think about it, that must have been 10 years ago or more. Anywho, what happened was when we decided we were going to do this with the boys, I was going to do it because we were doing the part of the course which is suitable for my grandchildren, which is 10 and under. Piece of cake. How hard could it be? Well, let me tell you, I was scared. For almost 2 hours, my little heart was going like this. So yes, the emotion was intense. Of course, when we finished and we came down, I wanted to go back and do it all again. Isn't that the way? But at the time, my heart was going somewhat. And it also taught me something else. Over the course, I found myself having to hoist myself up or use my legs to push myself up, and I really struggled. I mean, I'm very flexible, I do yoga on almost a daily basis, but my strength really left something to be desired. So I'm going to start working on that, not least because I've committed to my eldest grandson, who is 9, as I say. When he's 10, he becomes old enough to do the grown-up course, which is 3 hours through the trees in the forest. So I need to be fit. So that was, just amazing. And of course, when I think about summer, I think about that straight away. Hence the peak part of the peak end rule. Now, the end of summer, something very, very special happened to me at the end of summer. So I have a cousin, I think I've mentioned this before, in Ohio, in America. And she's my mother's sister's daughter. So my auntie went to America, I think when she was about 18. So she was there for a long time, and my cousins were all born there. My cousin, who's the same age as me, we have corresponded, I believe, since we were about 16. She's roughly the same age as me. That means for 50 years we have corresponded. So obviously originally snail mail, remember those days where you had to wait 6 weeks up to 2 months before you would get a reply back to a letter that you'd sent to America. And then of course when email happened, oh my, to be able to email and get a reply straight away was just beyond. And then, of course, since then, Zooming and FaceTiming, and this we've done regularly for 50 years. But we have never met in person. I know, 50 years, and we've been to the States about 4 times. Unfortunately, life kept happening. We couldn't get it together enough to be able to meet. And then we finally did, had it all booked, flights and all, and COVID happened. So, the fact is, this summer, we finally met. My cousin and her husband came over to England for the first time. They spent some time in London where they did all the touristy things. I do believe they hired a guide to help them. And if you are thinking of coming to this country or any other country, it's the best thing to do. You get to see the most important things and they tell you all about it, So they did that. So Buckingham Palace, they saw the changing of the guards, all of those things. But I would like to know, if you were coming to England, apart from things in London, what would you like to see in the country? Because when we knew my cousin was coming over, we laboured over what to show them. Everywhere we went, we were saying, oh, we must bring my cousin here. Oh, we must come here. Oh, we must show them that. Oh, it just went on. We could have filled their diaries for 2 months, never mind a few days. As it was, we took them to Stonehenge, where it absolutely bucketed with rain. Now, it kind of spoilt the visit to Stonehenge, that for me, and I'm sure it did for my cousins too, but they actually got to Stonehenge, so that was brilliant. That day, and given the fact that I think this has been the wettest summer in England, certainly that I can remember, we managed to escape the downpours the rest of the time they stayed. So we went to the Roman baths in Bath. We took them there. Then we came through to the Cotswolds, through all the pretty villages, and we stayed in the Cotswolds for a couple of nights, which was absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's so lovely to see your own country through the eyes of someone who's never seen it before. So refreshing. And we loved it. We absolutely loved it. Now, my cousin and her husband themselves were the most delightful and fun people. We share the same sense of humour, which when you think about it isn't all that strange, given that her mum was my mum's sister. There's a good chance we're going to have the same sense of humour, so that was delightful. And they were the perfect guests too. Having what amounts to strangers in your home for a week, of course they weren't strangers, but you know what I mean. But it was fabulous. They were lovely. I would think they've been the nicest, easiest guests we've ever had staying here, and certainly very fun. So that was an absolutely lovely thing. Then we came up, after the Cotswolds, we came up to this part of the world where she met other members of her family that she hasn't met before. We had everyone here at her house and they all came for lunch and she met them all. And it was the most delightful time. So that's how I ended my summer, meeting my cousin for the first time. It was so lovely, just so lovely. And these are just some of the pictures. Yes, don't ask about the men sitting on the sheep. We're not going there. But what a stunning place that was. We ate the most fabulous food. Everything that was planned went according to plan and beyond. It could not have been any better. So that was my summer. The peak was the boys being here and the emotions that brought up between joy and fear in the Go Ape and excitement, I have to say. And then the end of summer, meeting my lovely, lovely cousin and her equally lovely husband was just amazing. So that's the peak. And now, why should you be bothered about it? Well, let me tell you this, how you can use it. If you're planning an event of any kind, whether that's a 3-day event, a business event, a birthday, a child's birthday, any kind of event that you are hosting for people, keep the peak end theory in mind. Make sure that any part that's going to be lovely and emotional from a positive point of view, that's going to be the peak of your, let's say that's in the middle of your event, and then make sure what happens to end your event is spectacular or brilliant or as good as it possibly can be. Your guests will then go away, and when they remember the event, they'll remember those two things and think you're marvellous. That's the way to use the peak end rule if you are organising events for people. I've done this on my courses. It's the way, if you do run courses of any kind, it's the way to work your courses a way around the peak end rule. And people will remember it as being the most amazing course they've ever been on. Or even the most amazing event. That's how to use it. Now, when you watch this, actually, I may even be home, but I'm now off to Dubai. And I thought about taking you along with me as like a vlog, if you will. You know I don't do vlogs, only because I'm not sure how interested you would be in a vlog. But going to Dubai, it's going to be pretty special, I think. So I can't promise anything supersonically professional. But I might take you along to Dubai and I'll show that to you sometimes in the future. And until then, remember that on the Happy Stuff and Fluff, we're getting happy, living longer and growing younger. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.